Hi there, I'm Heather Tyler, and the name of my film is Delta County. I've memorized the tagline, sort of. It's about a retired FBI agent, Evie Harlow, who is struggling with the loss of her husband still after a bit of time, and she's forced to return back to active duty when her sister, an estranged sister back in her home state of Arkansas, is accused of murdering a wealthy philanthropist in Delta County, Arkansas, which is a fictional place, of course. In my heart, this film is about healing from loss. So that was the driving force. In the pandemic, members of my community and my family lost a very close friend. And sorry, we never had the chance to say goodbye. So I wrote that into this main character because it was healing for me and for people around me. Okay, so that's the sad part. The fun part is that also during the pandemic, we had, my writing partner and I had created a web series. Because it was the pandemic, we couldn't actually shoot it. So we were relying on our home cameras and Zoom, and it was just terrible. So terrible that I never did anything with it. But we revisited it, and she said, I think this is a feature and not an episodic, and I think you should write it and adapt it, and I'll direct it. So that's what we did. So that's how we turned this, you know, we made lemonade. We made lemonade. My director, Gloria, likes to say I'm a very fast writer. So we would break story together. We would meet in my living room when my son was going to kindergarten, and I adapted that web series into a feature in probably 2 months, and then we started pre-production and casting. So that was very fast. So we began, you know, in the spring, and by that summer we were shooting. 2/3 of the film is set in Arkansas, so we used our resources that I have with my family who's here. I grew up in Pocahontas, and we shot in Pocahontas, Little Rock, Jonesboro, and we used the BBS approach, the beg, borrow, steal if you must. And because of that, we were able to be agile and move quickly. What happened that sort of changed our timing and the trajectory is that we were shooting during the summer of the actors and writers strikes. I've been a member of SAG for a long time. I actually live in Los Angeles. So we shot on the only contract that was not going to be struck, because I knew, I was listening to conversations, and I said, if we don't use this contract, we're going to be struck because we're going to go on strike. The writing was on the wall. We used a very micro budget contract, and it has a cap of $20,000. Now, to some people that might sound like a good chunk of change, but for a feature film, I mean, it's pennies. My last short film cost $24,000 to make, if that tells you anything. So we shot on this baby right here. 3 of them, but the majority of it is on this right here. So it's an iPhone film. Of course, we hired, colorist, sound designer, composer, cinematographer, gaffer, things like that we had to have. And our actors worked on deferred pay. That's the only way that we were able to stay within that limit of the budget. But I'm telling you all this to answer your question about how long did it take. We come back, I immediately go to work as a strike captain at Netflix because I want to pay my dues, because I've been all summer shooting this movie in Arkansas and Los Angeles. My editor at the time was a friend from college. He happens to be Jimmy Kimmel's editor. And he said, Heather, when the strike is over for us, the writer's strike, I have to go back to work immediately. So I want you to be prepared. If that happens before the actor strike, you may still be striking, but I'm going to be working. And if that happens, I won't be able to finish your movie. Of course, that's what happened. So when we lost the editor, and we lost a second editor, and then we found someone to come on and sort of be like an additional editor, that slowed down the process. So that added a full year to get to completion after we had been shooting. DeltaCountyFilm.com has info and links on the entire cast. You can go to all of our personal pages from there, social media, IMDb Pro, personal websites. I'm also at heatherltyler.com and on Instagram at Heather L. Tyler.